Hello and welcome to that 90s Wrestling Podcast. Wrestling Podcast takes us back to the glory years of WWE, the 1990s. I'm your host, James Tunstall, joined once again by my co-host, Kevin.
Hey, how you doing, everybody?
And today we've got a very special guest. He's a two-time WWE Tag Team Champion. Some people remember him as Shanghai Pierce, some people as Henry Godwinn. What we know him today is Mean Mark Canterbury. How are you doing, Mark?
Oh, I'm doing good. Wow, that was I haven't heard that in a couple of years.
Believe me, Mark. I've done my research. I don't leave anything unturned.
Yeah, he's a thorough guy, that's for sure. So your mind, if you haven't thought about your career in a long time, don't worry, you're gonna get all of it flashing in front of your eyes after this interview today.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. So, how you doing, Mark? Anyway, I know you. We was meant to record last night, but you had a few storm troubles. Is that all passed over now?
Well, it's still storming a little bit. Got up this morning, had a bear in my front yard, tearing my bird feeder down. So I had to take care of that.
That's a bad bear. That's a bad bear.
Yeah.
Wolf. And I hear you on the storm bit. I'm on the East Coast as well. I'm up in Pennsylvania though, and we're getting hit with a little bit of rain ourselves.
Oh yeah, our power went out yesterday. I'm down here in southern West Virginia, and our power went out. And, we had a lot of rain, a little flooding.
Oh yeah, and that's kind of a scary area. Lots of grass and dirt, so you can create a lot of mud. When I've been through there, at least,
Yeah.
And you got, it's a little hilly, the Mountaineers,
Yeah, I'm right here against the Appalachian Trail, and a lot of streams coming out of these old mountains and creeks.
Yeah.
Cool. So, right, Mark. So, I suppose first question I asked everyone this: how did you become a fan of wrestling to begin with?
How did what?
How did you become a fan of wrestling in your childhood, I suppose?
Believe it or not, watching it with my grandfather when I'd come to West Virginia from Northern Virginia. They got three channels on their TV, and one of them was wrestling out of middle part of West Virginia, Oak Hill.
Oh, cool. And I similar situation for myself. I became a wrestler. My father was a wrestling fan, and he had all the videotapes lying about. And I just became a fan myself. So similar sort of situation, I suppose. And I was just looking about how you got into your training, and your longtime tag team partner, Dennis Knight, aka Phineas for everyone. You met him quite early on in your career.
Yeah, I was Italian Stallion, and Gorgeous George South was taking me to Atlanta, and I was doing jobs down there, and then Cowboy Bill Watts took over, and Eric graduated from college, and they brought him in, and Dusty and Cowboy liked the way me and Eric had a match on TV, so they told me that night, they said, well, we'd like you to go on the road. I said, when? They said, now. So
that's a little sudden.
Some of the boys, all I had was my gear and what I was wearing. So Arn Anderson gave me some Zubaz, and everybody was giving me pants and shirt to take on the road. And then I was scared to death because I was in the car with Harley Race, Barbarian, and Hercules Hernandez, and I was in the back seat with Barbarian.
Man, that's a tough car. Man,
that's
wow.
a badass crew.
Yeah.
But I done some research, and I didn't realize, to be honest, Mark. Obviously, I know you from WWF purely, which we'll get to in a minute. But I didn't realize you actually started out in WCW, and you were Shanghai Pierce, and Dennis Knight. He was Tex Salinger, and Dusty actually put a mask on you. And from what I've seen, the reason Dusty put a mask on you is said you was too good looking to be a heel.
Yeah. He said I had a baby face, and Tex was ugly enough. He didn't need one.
And I was just looking through a few of your matches and that, and I noticed eventually you got to the one match where you faced Johnny B. Bad, which for a lot of people they remember him more as Mark Merrow, and that was the match where you lost and you actually lost your mask. So I suppose the question is, do you prefer wrestling with a mask on or mask off?
You know, I sort of liked the mask on. I just felt like, I don't know. I felt different under the mask. Like I could do anything. And, I liked it.
Was it like kind of when, because when you go out there and you perform, you are performing as a character, whether it really is a huge part of your, your actual real life personality or it's just purely a character. I mean, you wear a mask to some degree, whether it's like emotionally or not. But when you literally have one on, does it feel that you can just transform more easily?
Yeah, it does. And when you're heel, I mean, damn, I felt like I was a bad boy with that mask on.
And that's kind of I think it's interesting, and maybe you can confirm this or not, but when you have the mask on, maybe because people can't see your face, you have to be more dramatic with the rest of your body and your gestures as a heel, right?
Right. And one thing about my mask, I had 2 or 3 that I kept all the time, a black one and a red one. But mine were the mouthless. The mouth was open, so it was a lot more comfortable. You could breathe better.
Yeah. And I was noticing not long after this, you eventually joined the WWF, World Wrestling Federation, as it was called back then, in '94. You debuted in mid-'94, and as you came as Henry O Godwinn, which for a lot of people, O actually standed for, is it Orpheus? Have I got that right?
Orpheus?
Yeah.
Yeah, Henry Orpheus Godwinn, yeah. Me and Beth come up with that because he wanted my initials to be Hog.
That's right.
Oh. That makes sense. And, Henry O. Godwinn. I feel like an idiot for not knowing that.
Oh, well, you know that,
actually, I think his grandfather's middle name was Orpheus. Is
right.
somewhere in his family tree. That's how he came up with that name, because it was either his grandfather or his great grandfather, something like that.
That's a pretty prestigious sounding name. I love it. Orpheus.
Yeah.
And
I went up there like a year before Tex come up there. Dennis. I was up there a year, and actually Harley Race and Kevin Nash is the one that put a word in for me, and then J.J. Dillon called me like 3 weeks later and said, "Fly up, we want to meet you." And I flew up there and signed my contract and went in Vince's little hideaway secret office there with him and JJ. And we talked for like 2 or 3 hours and went over just all kinds of history and, what I used to do. And I told him, we farmed a lot, and it was like a light bulb went off in his head.
Yeah.
I got to say real quick, it's absolutely amazing. You just said Kevin Nash is one of the people that gave you, that basically talked you up a bit. And so I think so much in the wrestling world, he's known as a selfish guy for the money he made, going to the WCW. But I routinely hear from, like the boys that they liked him. It's usually only people who are looking at money or these fans that feel like he robbed them or something, that he's a bad guy. But universally, it's pretty good. So it's nice to hear that he helped you out a little bit there.
Oh, yeah. See, we lived in Marietta. Some of the boys lived in a place called La Park in Marietta, which was, 15, 20 minutes from downtown Atlanta. So we did TVs there at Center Stage all the time. But Kevin lived the floor above me and Dennis there in the same establishment. And Max Payne lived there, and there was a couple others. Brian James, Road Dog, he lived there with us for a while.
Oh.
Benoit stayed 2 months with me and Tex when he started in WCW. Wow. But back to Kevin. Kevin really helped me and Tex out when we first started in WCW. We used to run around with him a lot, but Barry Windham's the one that really took us under his wing, and Barry lived with us too. But Kevin's an awesome guy. Me and him had a great match on Monday Night Raw, and yeah, we've just always been close.
That's awesome. That's really great to hear. I'm glad that he helped you up, and it sounds like at one point I think he got discovered by someone randomly, and they put a word in for him. So it's good to see everybody looking out for each other like that, you know.
Yeah, I got to tell you one. I got to tell you one little thing on Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's okay. We were us, and him and his wife. You know, they lived. She's a school teacher, but anyway, he was supposed to take their little dog out for a walk. Well, he would come by our apartment, and we would partake in some herbage.
Okay.
And he would forget to take his dog out. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Sorry, if there happens to be like little delays, that's probably just because, you know, there's three of us. So if we ever skip over, just kind of talk through us.
Yeah, Kevin would come down, and Tex always had plenty of weed. Kevin would get messed up, get to take the dog out and go back up. The dog would use the bathroom in the apartment. So that happened a couple times to him. So we used to tease him about that. His wife would get on him and say, "You must have been down to Shanghai, Texas apartment."
The dog messed up again. Clearly you were hanging out with those boys.
Yeah.
Cool. So as you came into the WWF, Mark, you originally debuted as a heel, and I was looking for the research, looking through some of your matches, and one of the early matches when you came in, you actually wrestled Bret Hart. So and it was a really fun match. I loved it, and so I suppose the two questions for this was like, first thing, it was a great match, but secondly, how did you get along with Bret, and what was he like behind the scenes? A lot of people said he was kind of a bit of a loner. How did you find him?
He had a small circle.
Yeah.
And fortunately, some of us were in that. I loved Bret, and I loved Owen too, you know. But Bret he was a lone wolf. But I know when he come out, he would go to places that nobody else would go. So we went out with him a few times, and he was a blast. He's just laid back. He's, you know, down to earth, and I had a great time with him.
Cool. And we spoke to one of your former colleagues, one of your former friends, Duke, and he said Duke the Dumpster Drosy, he said the same thing. They said Bret was cool, but if he wanted to stay by himself, he would so. So it sounds like round the board, that's the same sort of attitude Bret gave off to a lot of people. He was cool with people, but he was just a bit more reserved than most people. But so it's good to hear that. But you wasn't heel for long. You actually turned babyface quite quick on the $1 Million Corporation. You started your feud with them, and you put the bucket of slop over DiBiase. And right, Mark. So I've heard stories. There's the good slop and the bad slop. Is that true?
There was one bad slop, but unfortunately, Sonny got that.
Well, that was perfect. The question. We'll stick a pin on that one, because we are going to get back to it later on. But I did hear stories about that. But yeah, as you started out, your main feud to begin with was with the $1 Million Corporation, and your first pay-per-views in your house 2 again, and then your second pay-per-view you had was in your house 3 against Sid. So you was in quite prolific feuds, but wrestling Sid, what was Sid like? I hear he's a bit of a character.
It was fun, but you know, Sid was not the best wrestler. He looked good.
No.
And he can move around for a big man, but yeah, he was just a big man.
He was an
But it was fun, you know. DiBiase, I love DiBiase. They used to say we were kin because we looked a lot alike, you know. And I used to call him Dad, and he called me his son, out goofing around or something. But yeah, DiBiase, he was cool. And the first time I slopped him, yeah, it was okay. Then the next 2 times, he got it 3 times. So he made Vince buy his last 2 suits.
Oh well, that's fun. And not long after that, you was at the Survivor Series '95, and you teamed up with Fatu, which everyone knows him now as Rikishi, Savio Vega, and the Undertaker, and you defeated Jerry Lawler, Triple H, Mabel, and Isaac Yankum, and he was also known as Kane. So a lot of people know you're part of the legendary BSK, the Bone Street Crew, and I suppose, and we never really saw that on TV, but I suppose this Survivor Series match is the closest we'll ever see that being on the TV. So BSK. So we heard that it was. Is it true that it all started for your love of Domino's?
What was the last part there?
Sorry. So is it true that the reason you cut the Bone Street Crew was because you played Bones Domino's?
Oh yeah. We that was our big thing, was to slam them dominoes down. But yeah, BSK, that was we were a close group. I still talk to Godfather and Rikishi, and supposed to be going out there to Vegas this year, and
cool.
Going to hang out with them boys, I hope. So I'd love to get a BSK reunion together, but yeah, I don't know.
Hey, Mark, if ever you want to do a BSK reunion on the podcast, you know who to come to.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
So what's the craziest BSK story you can tell us? And by the way, this podcast is unfiltered. You can say whatever you want.
Okay. Well, shoot, there's a lot of BSK stories. I just don't know how far I can go with them.
Go for it.
Well, top the Kevin Nash story. You just got to beat that.
Yeah, I'll have to think on that. We had some pretty interesting nights. I'll have to think on that a little bit.
Well, then, could I jump in and say real quick? I was watching basically some material from Undertaker, and Taker was telling a story about he didn't specifically say who was in the room, but he said there's a time, he's with some of the boys, he's with Godfather, and Godfather's wearing a great hat, and Taker's like, hey, it's a pretty nice hat, and Godfather's like, listen, bro, it's yours. And Taker won't take it, being a nice guy, and Godfather's trying to give it to him, being another nice guy. And supposedly they have a knockout fight over Godfather wanting to give this hat and Taker refusing to take it, back and forth, physically fighting each other. Were you there? Did you see it, or did you just happen to hear about it?
I heard about it, but I can tell you that brings to mind. I thought I had fractured my foot. We were in Florida. I think we were in Miami, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, it was Tampa. And we were at a hotel, and we had like a suite. And me and Taker and Dennis had went out that night. And we just went close to the hotel and went to a little bar and had dinner and then started drinking. Well, by the time we got out of that place and got back to the hotel, we were feeling pretty good, and Tex was helping me. I was limping. We got in the room, and me and Taker and Dennis started wrestling, and we tore the damn room apart. It was hilarious. I mean, stuff like that.
Who paid the bill?
Taker. He made more money.
That's the right answer. That's a good friend.
That's great.
I loved Mark, man. He was really good to us, and he's a great guy.
Do you think the BSK never really manifested? I mean, because the Click had that the curtain call moment. Do you think it never really manifested itself because everyone was so committed to their gimmicks that I know Mark, he's he's Taker all the time, although he's loosening that lately. But do you think that played a factor, or was more so the clique was just unique in that they didn't mind having that moment?
Well, we were more laid back. We didn't want all the attention. Like when we went out to chill together. Now, it was like a family. We didn't compete with each other. When wrestling was over that night and we got together, it was a family. And, you know, it was, I couldn't be with my boys and my wife, you know, because I was on the road and this and that. But I really miss my boys. But being with a close-knit family on the road helped me more than anything.
Yeah, that's good. And I've noticed, and I think you've spoken about this on other interviews I've watched you do. I feel like a lot of the wrestlers currently, they're more professional, I suppose you could say, but a lot of them seems to keep themselves to themselves, and a lot of them just puts their headphones in and just play the video games or look at their social media. Whereas in all the interviews I've looked at and like books I've read, all like you said, the boys was all together, just helping each other out, just basically keeping each other sane on them road trips and on them all them miles you were doing. And it's something I think is missing from today's wrestling.
That's missing from our whole society. Everybody's on the damn phones and computers, and nobody talks to each other anymore. See, we would just like that night, me and Taker and Dennis were wrestling. We were all three staying in one room, you know, because we liked each other's company. We hung out, and that's what we did, and that's what's missing now. Everybody pops their headphones in and gets on the damn computer or whatever they got, iPads and all that crap now. And yeah, I'm not into that. I'm old school. I like talking.
Yeah, I'm the same, Mark, and so is Kevin.
No, I'm super new school. I like the iPads.
yeah. That's fine. I mean, we got one, but it just doesn't. I don't let it rule my day, my life. You know, I still like to hang out with people, talk shit, and you know, drink beer or whatever. You know. And
oh yeah, I fully admit this is one of my personality flaws, but I can't help it. I was born in 1990. I'm 30 now, but I grew up, you know, learning how to type in class and stuff. It's a different generation.
Yeah. Cool.
You still appreciate the good stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Of course. I'm sitting here talking to Henry O Godwinn. I remember back in the day, the reason why I got into wrestling is primarily because I have an uncle who was in the business. Now, he's always a small guy. His name's Art Palmer, if there's any chance you would know his name. And he would basically have, you know, he would tape all the pay-per-views and stuff, and I would try to watch Monday nights. And, like, the number one pay-per-view that I always remember is the 96 Royal Rumble. And I think it was the first or second that Sean won. But either way, you had big moments in that, because I remember the slot bucket and everything. I remember you threw it at Sonny, or you were going to throw it at Sonny. Because I think you had a tag match against the Body Donnas earlier, I think. But I remember you very prominently, so that's a very cool thing, and that's something I only experienced. That was my entertainment back then. Now I can pull it up on the iPad, I guess, though.
Cool. And getting back to your career, Mark, so one of your most memorable matches was at In Your House 5, the Hog Pen match against Triple H, and Hillbilly Jim came in as a referee, and it was a brutal match. And I know that Triple H got a few cuts on him, and even though he won the match, you ended up chucking him in the pig pig pen. And I can imagine. Did he get infected or anything like that with all them open cuts?
Yeah, he was open pretty good. He got 15 stitches when I threw him into the gate. It bit him. And it cut he had 15 stitches, and I always teased him. I said, well, I scarred you for life.
Literally.
We didn't really know it was that bad, and then I picked him up over my head and held him for a second, and then threw him down back first, and then we were afraid when we got back there he was going to get staph or something, because them hogs would shit all day in there and run around.
Wow. That's crazy. not long after this, like you said, your good friend Phineas came in, and you two started tagging. And in the lead up to WrestleMania 12, you was in the tag team tournament. You defeated the New Rockers in the first round, Bulldog and Owen round 2. Unfortunately, you lost in the final against the Body Dunners. And we talked a little bit about her earlier, but let's go for it. Talk about Sunny. What was she like during the day? And what was the infamous slot bucket?
Sunny could be difficult, and we were on a Germany tour, and she was being a regular little spoiled brat.
Yeah.
But they used to make us dinner. We had a group that traveled with us, and they would cook our meals right there at the building, and then they would send food back to the hotel with us. We just put our name on it, and they would fill it up with whatever we wanted. And I don't think I told you guys a story about what happened with Sunny.
No.
Okay, well,
let's do it.
You know, the caterers all made this food. Like, we get steak, chicken, spaghetti. That was pretty much the regular thing. Well, you put your name on this tin, the lid, and they would make your meal, and you take, after the show's over, you take it back to the hotel, and you got food to eat. So Sunny had got her tin and had spaghetti and chicken in it. Well, Razor and the kid got her tin, took the food out, and shit in the bottom of it, covered it up, put her food back in on it, and closed the tin back. When she got to the hotel that night and opened it, it hit her, and she started crying and ran, and Briscoe sent her home the next day.
Wow.
True story.
Oh, good old
brutal.
kid. Good old Sean Waltman.
Oh, God. That's probably not the first time or the last time he shitted in a sandwich or in a meal.
Yeah. And then as far as the slop went, that night on Raw, I always made my slop because out of stuff that we had, Vince always fed us at the tapings. Mm-hmm. So we had a big spread of food, and I'd always make my slop out of that. Well, I filled it about half the way up because I knew she was going to get slop, so I made a little extra. This is about half full bucket. I went in the locker room where everybody was, and I set it down, and I said, "Don't nobody mess with this. Sonny's getting slop tonight." And I walked out.
So innocent of you. You were making sure that she was taken care of.
Yeah, and I didn't do nothing to it. So I warned everybody. I said, "Boys, don't mess with this." And, when I picked it up at the end of the night and was headed to the ring, it was about an inch from the top from being full. And I didn't know what was in it. I knew I didn't want it on me, but I didn't know what I was in it, and I found out when I got back to the locker room afterwards.
Oh, that's brutal.
That's amazing. Did you find out because it was all over Sonny's costume, or?
Yeah, she had little shorts on and a shirt, and then she had cowboy boots on, which were pretty wide at the top. And when Phineas dumped that over, I was standing on the ground, and I seen that stuff just filling her boots up, and I was like, "Oh,
even less."
And it was over her face and head.
That makes me so happy. I had a huge crush on Sonny back in the day, because who didn't, but in hindsight, it's really funny to see that the character was a little bratty, and she kind of was behind the scenes, and probably deserved that.
Oh, yeah. She did. She's better now, but me and her took a picture up in West Virginia last year. Me and her did a show together up there, and I actually give her the bucket. It was empty, but she held it over my head, and I was like she was going to slap me. So that was a famous picture last year.
Oh, I have to see that. I haven't seen that. Dang.
I'll find that. But yeah, so after Mania 12, you continued your feud with the Body Donners and Sonny, and at the MSG show, you finally done it, and you won the tag team titles. How did that feel, being tag team champions at the time?
Madison Square Garden, yeah. That's where it was.
Well, you win them at the Garden. That's the place to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't they taped it, but it wasn't a televised match.
Mm-hmm.
But we won them there that night, and man, the place went crazy. And they had the fire marshals had said there were too many people there. People were standing in the aisles, and we won that night. And I think I jumped over Hillbilly's head. It was so cool. Just the atmosphere, and I knew a lot of people at ringside that just hardcore wrestling fans from New York and Jersey, and to see them people just erupt, it was awesome. And I remember throwing my John Deere hat out of the ring into the crowd.
Yeah.
And I just seen a couple people going for it, and about 4 months later, we were at a mall up there doing an autograph session, and the guy that got it brought my hat to me, and I signed it and dated it.
Oh, that's cool.
And give it back.
Great.
That's a really good piece of memorabilia right there. The night you won the titles in the Garden. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome.
And was that the same night as the curtain call as well then, Mark?
It might have been. I can't remember because I wrestled 7 or 8 times in the Garden.
Right.
And then, after a while, they all start running together.
Yeah, because I was putting like the timeline together, and this was just after Mania 12, which Sid and Razor, Diesel and Razor just left not long after Mania as well, and one of the last shows they done was at the Garden with a curtain call. So I was kind of putting two and two together. But I suppose my question is, after they done the curtain call, and basically, I know it wasn't a tape show, but they still killed kayfabe for the fans. What was your reaction and the reaction from the locker room when they went out and done that, for example?
I didn't see it happen because I was talking or something. I was in the shower or talking or something, but I think it did happen that night. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And I noticed a lot of the boys were very upset about it. And it was sort of like a slap in the face. But I guess it all worked out, but a lot of people weren't very happy with it.
Did anyone confront them about it, or were they just like behind closed doors upset that you know of?
I can't remember, to be honest, but it seems like there were some people talking shit about it.
Yeah, because I know it was a little difficult, considering who was in there. I mean, all reports say that like Shawn Michaels was pretty bulletproof at the time. Nash and Hall were leaving it, so Triple H ended up getting the brunt of that.
He got the blunt of it. I know Taker wasn't happy about it. He was definitely bulletproof at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, and a few months after this, you lost your titles to Smoking Guns and had a rematch at the King of the Ring. But at this King of the Ring show was the infamous Austin 316. So I suppose the questions is like, how was Austin behind the scenes, and what was his reactions to Austin 316? And when he cut that promo, did everyone in the back think, yeah, this guy's going to be the main man in the future?
Yeah, I don't recall all that, but Austin was a great guy. We used to, when we were in WCW, we used to hang out when they were the Blondes, him and Pillman.
Yeah.
We used to go out to Steve's house, just me and Tex, and we'd go out there and cook out and just hang out all night, drink beer and eat. And he was a great guy to be around. And he was a big influence, at the time up there. He was the man too.
Yeah. And not long after this again, you had Mick Foley, Mankind, just came in as well. Not long after this at In Your House 9, and you wrestled him. From what I've heard, everyone says there's 3 guys who are too kind for the wrestling business: Mick Foley, Glenn Jacobs, obviously Kane, and Owen Hart. I'm guessing you agree with that.
I agree with that. Yeah. I do got to say one thing about Kane. He was one night in Germany. We got him drunk, and it was an ugly sight. He's a horrible drunk.
Yeah. Well,
not the prettiest guy sober either.
He was hugging everybody and laughing and real loud, and so I don't think he did that anymore after that.
He's a mayor now. He probably can, right?
He's the mayor down in Knoxville. He's see, me and him, when I lived in Tennessee, me and him used to fly out together out of Knoxville Airport, and he still lives down there. And my son Shane lives maybe 20 minutes from him.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, he's in there.
Oh, good. Tennessee's a beautiful state. Just want to throw that out there. Love it.
Good.
And not long after this as well, he was in the Survivor Series again with Phineas. He was teaming up with Fun and Fairness, and he's defeated Bulldog, Owen, and the Rockers. And round about this time as well, Bret Hart just came back after his leave of absence. And the question I wanted to ask you as well, because during this time, you saw Diesel was champion at the time, and also Shawn Michaels and Bret. Who, in your opinion, was the best locker room leader out of them 3? Who conducted themselves the best, do you think?
I would say probably Bret, and then Kevin, and then John.
That sounds about right. Yeah. I asked the same question to Duke last week, and he said the same exact as you. He said Bret was always more professional. He said Diesel was good, but he felt like it was too soon for Diesel. But Shawn was just Shawn, basically.
Yeah. Me and Duke were pretty close up there too. You know, we had a little run there, and but. Yeah, they didn't treat Duke right, I don't think. But
no.
It's Duke. They had promised him, they were going to push him, and I don't know what happened there. I don't recall some of that, but yeah, I don't know what happened there. Duke was a good worker.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they clearly were going to try to. Because again, I'm citing the '96 Rumble. He was the number 30 entrant, and they were hyping him up pretty big. When he went against Triple H, so he won the number 30 spot, and they were talking him up a lot. So it's amazing how you can kind of get that. I would say clear push, and then it just fall apart, and they just seem to lose faith in the guy for no reason.
Yeah, that's happened to a lot. Several of the guys, I think, and
yeah,
it sort of happened to us. We won the belts twice, and Vince Russo is the one that really screwed us on that asshole. But I told him, he said we weren't believable because we were hillbillies dressed in overalls, and I said, will you come home with me one weekend and walk down my little town and see what the hell everybody's wearing? It's a shoot. It ain't fake.
No, like overalls are functional for that kind of work that your character was. Like Vince has his moments.
You have guys that never wrestled and they just read stuff and try to invent stuff, and I think he was one of those guys, and they wanted us in the suits, so we went to Southern Justice. But then I'd already broke my neck. Hell, I was wrestling 7 weeks with a broken neck, and we were supposed to win the belts in September against Road Dogg and Billy Badass.
Yeah.
And we were supposed to get the belt. And they said, "How do you feel?" And I said, "I'm hurting." And they said, "Well, you need to go home after tonight's match and find out what's going on with your neck." And then that's when I had to have spinal fusion done. And me and Austin had the same C6, C7 fusion. So that sort of nipped that in the butt.
Yeah, that'll slow down a career. Oh my God, I'm sorry you had to go through that, bud.
Yeah, that was a pretty rough thing to go through, because I had told the office I wasn't comfortable doing it that move, because I didn't want to stooge Hawk out, and he was messed up on something, and I didn't feel comfortable doing it. So we talked to Blackjack, Lanza, he was the agent, and I forget who else was on that night. But they, said, "Why don't we just do the move where me and Animal go down together instead of the flip off his shoulders?" I said, "I just don't feel comfortable doing it." I didn't say why. I didn't stooge nobody out.
Yeah.
When the office wants you to take the flip, and Phineas even said, "I'll do it. I've taken it before." And they said, "No, they want Henry to do it." So I went out there and did it, and sure enough, broke my neck that night.
Ouch.
And that's just even worse, because you're pleading with them like, "Listen, I got my reasons. It doesn't really matter. I'm just asking you to respect that I really don't want to do this when I normally don't turn things down." And they still just didn't let it go.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that really left a sour taste in my mouth with WWE was that. And I left there on. I give my respect, and I expected it back, and that's just the way I was. I was quiet. I kept myself, and but yeah, that still gripes my ass about that. But it's what it is.
And after you broke your neck, you came back, and you and Phineas had a bit of a character change and turned heel. But to be honest, one of the things, like, it was a terrible accident what happened to you, but it led to your heel turn. And I've always said a heel turn works when there's a point where the heel believes they're right. And that's what it was like for you, because the reason you turned heel was because Road Warriors broke your neck and you wanted to get your revenge on them, which was fully justified. And that's what made the heel turn work. And it gave you a new lease of life. Don't get me wrong, you were still working really well as faces, but it was time to switch things up maybe. And your heel turn, it worked really well. Last year I made it my mission of watching like every Raw 97. And every time I watched an episode, yous were like the highlight for me. I was like, "Oh, here comes the Godwinns," and yous were doing really good stuff. Like when you came back and you was working with the Warriors again, and the Headbangers, for example. And in your House Bad Blood, you won the tag titles for the second time, which must have felt pretty good.
Yeah, it felt good, but Vince Russo always spoke up, and we couldn't keep him more than a month, and so it really pissed me off. But because I was loyal to that company and dedicated, and would do anything they asked me to do if I was able to do it. And Texas was that way too.
Sorry, and it must be pretty bittersweet, this pay-per-view as well, Bad Blood, because obviously you won the tag team titles, which was good, but obviously I don't know if it was later on that day or the next day you found out that Brian Pillman passed away. I'm guessing that was pretty sad for the locker room when they found out that news.
Yeah, actually, we were the ones that took him to his room, me and Dennis and Animal.
I didn't know that.
We were eating down in the restaurant, and we had to get up early because we had the pay-per-view the next day.
Yeah.
So Brian was tore up, had taken a bunch of shit, was drinking beer. So we got him up to his room and got his shoes off and got him laying on the bed, and we left. He said he was just going to pass out. So the next morning, we all got up real early. We had to catch a flight, and everybody made their flight except Brian. And then they told us, like an hour before the damn show started, that Pillman had missed his flight, and they went and banged on the door and called for like an hour, and nothing happened. So they went in the room, and he was dead. So we were the last ones to see him, and it sort of hit home, and because we had tried to take care of him and got him to his room. He wasn't barely able to walk.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that was rough. You got a big match, and an hour before it, they tell you Pillman's dead. He won't be here, so we're going to change this up. So it was horrible, man. I would have waited, but
oh yeah, I didn't realize they told you he was gone before the match. I thought maybe they told you, oh, we're checking into it. We know he didn't make it, but wow, they told you the whole thing right before.
Told everybody what happened before the pay-per-view, right? Pay-per-view.
That's messed up. It's pretty bad, and and then obviously a few days later, you lost, like you said, Russo, just being a New York hick, not thinking of anything outside New York, decided to cut your run short with the tag belts, gave it to the Warriors. But then at Survivor Series, you and the Outlaws defeated the Headbangers and the Blackjacks, and I don't know if you knew this, Mark. You're actually 3 for 3 at Survivor Series. You've never been on the losing side. You've been on the winning side every time.
Oh yeah, the Survivor Series.
Yeah, you've every Survivor Series team you've competed in has won, so you're undefeated at Survivor Series.
Yeah, that's right.
That's pretty sweet.
That's
you like Randy Orton.
Yeah, run the gauntlet in Survivor Series.
Even Russo couldn't stop you.
And later on this night, obviously, it's the infamous Montreal Screwjob. What can you tell us? What was the backstage like? I can imagine it was crazy when it went down.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty chaotic. I was standing in the hall when everybody was coming back, and I've heard different things, and I believe Jim Cornette, if you watch The Dark Side of the Ring about the Montreal Screwjob, I believe Cornette, because he has no reason to lie, and he's pretty straightforward, Cornette is.
Oh, yeah, so, I love him.
It was chaotic, and I know there was some fists thrown, punches being thrown in the back, and Bret was not happy, and Davey Boy was involved, and Shane and Vince, and I think Sean just sort of stayed clear. I think he went in the locker room afterward. I'm not sure. I can't remember, but yeah, it was pretty bad scene there in the backstage.
Yeah, and obviously Bret left Bulldog and Jim Neidhart like 3 big characters, and I've got a segment like towards the end of the show what I'm going to do, but might be a good time to talk about him now as well, I suppose. British Bulldog, I heard he was quite a good prankster behind the scenes.
Oh, damn, he was, but Owen was 10 times worse than Bulldog. Owen, we was working them. We beat them at Penn State College. They had the belts when Tex first come in with me. We had a match there against them that night, and they were pretty good heels at the time, and we were just starting, so we were the big baby faces. Yeah. But we beat them night in a non-title match, and we grabbed the belts, after we won, and they took them back, the ref and somebody else run out there, one of the agents, I think it was Tony Gurria, and they grabbed the belts from us. But man, what a pop that night. That was like our first big win together. I mean, it wasn't televised, but it was sold out there in Penn State. So it was pretty cool. And but anyway, on the little shows, like we would run them Canada shows, and they would just be little towns, maybe a couple thousand people at some of them, just little arenas, and it's cold as shit up there. And but we did a lot of those ice hockey arenas up there in Canada. But one night, the first night, Owen come out, had a mouthful of water, and come out, and must have held it for like 10 minutes, and the match started. Him and Tex locked up, and he spit water in Tex's face, and then started getting heat, and that was his heat in the beginning. Come out with a banana, one night, and just all kinds of crazy shit.
He's the best, and another guy like taken way too soon away from everyone. And like we said earlier, him along with Foley and Kane, the three of the nicest guys in wrestling. So such a shame. But yeah, the next thing you was involved in, one of the stupidest ideas ever, but obviously from Russo, the Brawl for All. What was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I just had sinus surgery, nose surgery. I had a deviated septum, so I just had surgery. All right, yeah, I just had that nose surgery, and I didn't want to do the Brawl for It All because of that. But then they talked me into it, and I did it, and I didn't have any feeling for about a month on the right side of my feet. It was like a shock or something. And it was just nerves.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, we don't know if you disappeared.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, good. All right. So it did break up again while you were talking, but we don't want to keep making you repeat the same thing over and over again. So because that would be a little
I was saying the Brawl for It All was a massacre because some of the guys got hurt, pretty bad.
Yeah, and no one got. Well, that was the thing. Jim Cornette, like you said, he just put it simple. He said no one came out of it any better than when they came into it. All what happened was a lot of guys got injured, suffered really bad injuries, and not one star was made out of it. So there's rumours why they done it. They said that Russo done it because he didn't like Bradshaw, and it was a way to get Bradshaw knocked out. And other people said it was made for Dr. Death Steve Williams for him to win it, so he would be the next challenger for Stone Cold. But if that was the case, I'm like, why not just do it scripted, like just a more wrestling match? You know what I mean? But just crazy why they actually done it. Who wants to see wrestlers box? We watch wrestling for wrestling, not for boxing.
Yeah, it was a lot going on there too. And back to people getting screwed out of a job, they didn't expect Bart Gunn to do what he did and knock out Dr. Death. And that father got knocked out. And I'm telling you, that night, they were still loopy. It's pretty damn scary,
Yeah, it's pretty.
And, they were wanting Dr. Death to win it. Well, they should have made it that way instead of having everybody beat the shit out of each other and get hurt. Yeah. And then they sparked another shot. Whoever won it, they said, we're going to give you a shot. And then they turned around. So,
yeah, he faced off against Butterbean, right? Like, and then that obviously he wasn't going to beat Butterbean.
And that was pretty much done.
I don't know. Yeah, so your phone's being glitchy, but that's okay. It's no big deal. I just wanted to say that I'm surprised that in that commentary that no one came out any better. I still can't understand how they fell into Bart Gunn being a legitimate winner. Then why don't you just push him? Like it's amazing they went out of their way to kill it, by using a professional boxer. That was a miscalculation.
Yeah. But yeah, and I suppose not long after this as well, you've had a gimmick change and became Southern Justice and accompanying Jeff Jarrett. So how did it feel like? A few people on Twitter has asked me to ask you this. How did it feel like dropping the Godwinn's gimmick and becoming Southern Justice? Was you happy about it, or I can imagine you wasn't too happy about it?
Well, if we could have made something out of it, I think it was going to be great.
Yeah.
You know, Colonel Parker was our manager there for a little while, and then Jeff Jarrett took over, and that's when we were. He was having a feud with Id, and that's the night we shaved Howard Finkel's hair. And
oh yeah,
Howard said, "I'll never go here again after you guys cut it." He says, "I love it."
So yeah, and obviously Howard Finkel passed away not long ago. What's your favorite memory of Howard Finkel?
Oh, just Howard was very knowledgeable, but just a great guy. I mean, he was a good listener, and he knew the right things to say. He was very calm. But you know, we got to hang out with Howard and drink with him a few times and have dinner and just nice stuff. I always got fond memories of Howard.
Cool. And so not long after this is when you eventually left WWE. How did it happen? Did you decide to leave? Was it a case that too many injuries was racking up? What caused you to leave WWE in the end?
Well, I just had I'd come home after that, you know, when we were Southern Justice, and I'd come home and I went to St. Mary's in Nashville, the hospital, and they said, you know, you're gonna have to do something. You got a fracture in there, and it's herniated, and it's pinching a nerve. And I was losing my tricep. I couldn't push 20-pound dumbbell over my head with my right arm, but I was doing 90 pounds with my left one. So I knew something wasn't right, and so I went to Nashville, and you know, Vince paid for my surgery. It was about $48,000.
Wow!
And they fused my C6, C7 together, and then I think it was about 2 months later, Bruce Pritchard called and said, "Yeah, well, we're going to let you go, and till later on, maybe if you get better, you can come back." Yeah, it's not a nice business sometimes, and people will stab you in the back, and you just got to be careful.
Yeah, I've heard that a few times. People say exactly what you said. Like, it can be good, but I think, I don't know if it is. It seems to be a lot less political these days, I would imagine. But I would imagine there's still politics in place. But I know, like, back in your era and that, it was very ruthless, especially as we talked about Montreal, the cat fighting between Bret and Shawn and things like that. And it looks like the one guy who never really got too involved with the drama was Taker, I suppose.
Yeah, Taker was just Taker, you know. He never really got excited about stuff. The only time I seen him get real mad was the night Mabel splashed me in Nashville in a battle royal and slammed me and then splashed me. I thought it broke my back, and I walked back to the locker room and fell down back there, and had the doctor come in, was icing me and give me a shot of Toradol on my back. And I look over, and Taker is pissed. He's taping his fists up.
That's how you know.
Down, and Mabel walks through the door, and Taker's like, "What the fuck are you doing? It's a rumble. It's a, you know." And he was going after him, and they grabbed him, and then Mabel was fired the week after that.
Wow.
You know, that's the second story I've heard of that.
Yeah, Taker's got a little bit of clout, you know.
Just a little. He's Judge Taker, I hear, at Wrestler's Court.
Well,
What's that?
I said he's Judge Undertaker from what I hear at Wrestler's Court.
well, that was what I was going to ask you. So we've had your Owen Hart story. So before we sign off, Wrestler's Court, like Kevin just said, Taker was the judge. So what's your favorite Wrestler's Court story you was involved with, or what you've seen or heard?
There was a lot of little ones that I can't remember, but I remember that the Mabel thing was the Wrestler's Court.
Right.
It seemed like something involved in Nash or something too one time, but I can't remember.
Yeah, there's a story Nash said that was actually very similar to what you said. Supposedly where he told Mabel, like, listen, that thing where I'm lying down flat and then you just kick your legs out and land on the lower back, don't do it. And during the match, he did it. So, it was kind of the same backstory as the one you just said, actually.
Yeah. I do remember the Wrestler's Court on a couple of them. But a lot of them were just jokes, too. They'd say, oh, that's going to Wrestler's Court, just ripping people and stuff.
Cool. So the last segment we got, Mark, before we sign off. So the segment's cool or pig shit. So I'm going to list off a few names, and if they're cool, they're cool. If they belong in the pig shit, they belong in the pig shit. How's that sound for you?
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. First name, Bret Hart.
Hello?
Oh, hey.
Hello. Sorry. So first name, Bret.
Yeah, you broke up there. I didn't hear. All I got was Bret.
Yeah, Bret Hart. Cool or pig shit?
Cool or pig shit?
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. Diesel.
Cool.
HBK, Shawn Michaels.
Cool, but a little shitty.
That's usually what people's answer is back in the 90s. Now they say he's a different guy, but back then.
Yeah, he was a little smart ass sometimes back then. But I've been with Shawn on a few shows, and he's changed, getting older and just ain't as pretty as he used to be. And he's realizing that.
Yeah, he's bald now.
Yeah.
I showed my brother when he had his match in Saudi and he was bald. My brother, my younger brother, doesn't really watch wrestling that much, but he's the biggest Shawn Michaels fan. And when I showed him the picture of Shawn Michaels, my brother started crying. He's like, "What happened to him?"
Yeah, I was going to say, what did he do? Start crying?
Yeah, he lost his smile when he saw the picture.
Yeah.
So next one, Taker's cool. We already know that. Skip, Chris Candido.
Chris was a good guy, quiet. He was professional, but liked to have fun. Put up with a lot of shit with Sonny, but yeah, I felt sorry for Chris in that sense sometimes.
Yeah. We've already talked about Sonny. Back then she was pig shit. Today I suppose she's more cool. Next one, Goldust, Dustin Rhodes.
Oh, we were tight with Goldust. He's always been cool with me. Him and Marlena both. And matter of fact, when me and Tex started in WCW, we were hanging out with Barry Windham, and then Dustin came, and they were tight anyway, so we were hanging out with Dustin and Barry all the time. And we used to go out to Dustin's and Marlena's and cook out, because he lived out there towards Steve, and Dusty would come over. So that was awesome times to go out to Dustin's, and Dusty would come over, and we would drink beer and talk wrestling and watch football and cook out. You just can't get, those are great memories.
That makes me happy. A lot of people love Goldust, so that makes me happy. And next one, you mentioned the Owen Hart story, but I suppose Bulldog.
I never had any trouble with Bulldog. We hung out. Before Tex come up, I was on the road with him and Luger some. I roomed with them a few times. Now Davey Boy was the ribber. That was the only thing that was aggravating about him. Hell, he'd rib you and uniform.
And next one, Mark Merrow and Sable.
I don't know. Sort of out of my league.
Next one, not many people talks about. I used to enjoy watching him when he was there. Todd Pettingill.
Who?
Todd Pettingill. You know, the guy who done the commentaries. The announcer guy, Pettingill.
Love him. He's a great guy. Just seen him last year.
Oh, cool. How's he? He's just come back he done like the NXT in your house like throwback episode, and he looks like he hasn't aged a day.
I know, he still looks good. He was a great guy, and we did some dinners and drinking with him. So I liked him.
Awesome. Shane McMahon.
Shane, me and him's pretty tight. I got to take up for Shane because when I first started, I was living down in Tennessee, and Shane was working for Vince, and he's the one that flew down and did my vignettes at the old farm down there with the pigs and all. You know, when I first started coming out, them pigs that were running around, that was in Tennessee. Well, Shane shot all them vignettes down there.
Oh, cool.
So he come to the house after that, and played with my boys, and we had dinner, and then he went back to Knoxville and left the next day. But Shane is a hard worker, and he'll give his body up. You can't say he won't.
No.
I always like Shane.
Yeah, Shane's cool. Next one, you mentioned him earlier about Sonny's meal. The Kid, X-Pac.
Kid, he was a jokester too, liked to rib, and he had some issues, and good worker, just got to where he wasn't that dependable.
Yeah. And Jeff Jarrett.
Oh God, Jeff Jarrett, that's when I first got up to WWE, that's who I was on the road with, was Jeff. And then I think Road Dogg started about few months after me, and then he was a loner, so he got in with me and Jeff, and we run together. And that was crazy times with them two. Oh my God, it's the one that we didn't either die or go to jail.
Hey, he's still going though. It's all good. And last name on the list, Ahmed Johnson. There must be a good Ahmed Johnson story.
Oh yeah, shitty.
I hear he had a
I'll tell you one on him. It's a sort of a BS case too.
Oh, great.
He didn't have nobody to ride with, and we were in St. Louis. So he got a room beside ours, and Ahmed never really partied. He's all about his body and stuff, and but he wanted to go out drinking with me and Tex, and I think Savio was there that night, and Rikishi. Well, we started hammering him with the shots, and we got him in the car and got him back to the hotel. He did like $400 worth of damage to his room and blamed everything on us. And I'll never go out with him again. That's my Ahmed story.
That's great. I would love to get him. I can't seem to find him on social media or anywhere. So I'm trying to, because I'll be honest, Mark, a lot of people don't look at the new generation fondly, but me and Kevin, that's kind of the era we grew up with. Like Kevin's born in 90, I'm born in 89. So us being 5, 6, or 7 year olds, this is like our introduction into wrestling. And we love the new generation. So I'm trying to like speak to anyone from new generation just to get the stories, because there's so many entertaining stories. Like you've told us a few tonight, which we've loved listening to. So so I'm just trying to like try to get into contact with everyone and that. So but it's been great. But yeah. So yeah, well, I guess that'll wrap things up for now. Hopefully we do a part 2. But before we leave, Mark, do you want to plug your social media?
What's that?
Sorry. So yeah, before we go, do you want to tell everyone where to find you on Instagram and on Facebook and everywhere?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. It's Mark and Tracy Canterbury. Just getting on the Twitter now. So, but I want to thank you guys, man, for keeping this going and appreciating a good era that's gone forever and never be the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed all the guys. A couple of them got on my nerves and pissed me off, but yeah, I enjoyed it. That was a great era.
Oh,
absolutely.
Like I said, we loved it, and there's so many entertaining stories. And like I said, we spoke to Duke last week, and we'll be releasing that episode out soon as well. And he said hello back to you, and he had some good stories to tell. And like yourself, for example, you had some really good stories, what we loved tonight. So it was a great era, and I think people are starting to look more fondly back on it now in the in recent years. So it's great, and we loved it. And if ever you're free, I can imagine we've only just scratched the surface of the stories you've got to tell anyway.
Oh yeah. Maybe next time before we do it, call and we'll talk a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be
what
great.
You want to go? We'll go by, and we can focus on that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, and it would be great. So
sounds great.
Thank you very much. So yeah,
let me ask you this real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way that you get like 2 guys on your cast at the same time?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll be able to sort it out. You thinking of inviting Phineas?
Yeah, Phineas or
yeah,
Phineas would be good.
Oh, that'd be
And
great.
we got stories. And we got stories we'll have to take to the grave too, but we got stories.
We can send you liquor money, both of you, if you are all trying to, have a few drinks and tell some stories,
Even better.
Yeah. Now, if we have a cold, tasty beverage before, it's hard to tell what we'll say.
It's a deal, Mark. And I don't know who you're in touch with still these days, like in the wrestling world, but yeah, if you want to chat to them and say, there's this English guy and this guy from Philadelphia, and they're doing interviews with new generation guys, give them a shout, and we'll have a good conversation and have some sort of a reunion. Get a few Bruceys on the go, and it'll be great.
Yeah, I know I could get probably Phineas and Rikishi and Papa to do it. Godfather.
Oh, it'd be great. It'd be greatly appreciated,
So
Mark.
y'all just keep up the good work and keep in touch, and we'll do it again.
Yeah, and as soon as we get this video edited, I'll be sure to tag you and to let you know when it's been released anyway.
Yeah, we'll get it to you so you can watch it or listen to it.
It'd be cool, man.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right, thanks very much, Mark, and we'll chat again.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Hey, it's been an honor.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.